Hello, and welcome to the Women's Eye podcast. I'm your host, Laurie McAndish King. Thanks for joining me. Here on the Women's Eye, you'll meet women who are achieving their dreams and making a difference in the world. This episode is brought to you by the Casco Financial Group in Phoenix, Arizona. Casco's president, Catherine Scrivano, started her business to help people like you create the financial strength to achieve their dreams. I'm excited about my guest today. She's Beth Whitman, an adventure traveler who's been on my radar for years since I'm a travel writer. And I'm pretty sure Beth is living the dream. I've always admired Beth's be bold attitude. It's very inspiring. And for people who haven't traveled for a while, we're going to talk about how to get back out there. I'm so glad to be finally meeting you, Beth. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you so much, Laurie. I'm really excited to be here.
Okay, and you're joining us from Seattle.
I am indeed up in Seattle.
Is it raining there now?
We have snow. It's
no.
magical outside.
Whoa.
Yeah, quite unique for us, but it's beautiful.
Oh my gosh. I'm in Northern California and it's raining like crazy today. So here we go. I have so many questions for you. But first, I want to mention that you lead small group tours around the world to destinations like Vietnam, Cambodia, Bhutan, the Galapagos, the Amazon, all kinds of fascinating places. And often they're women-only groups. So
Yes.
I would love to hear about maybe about the trip you just came back from to Lapland.
Yeah.
What was that like?
Oh my gosh, it was absolutely amazing. You want to talk about snow. If you're off the beaten path at all, pretty much you put your foot down, you're post-holing, and you're up to your thigh. And it can be quite cold. We had negative temperatures, for a couple of days, probably -8 or so, but it just creates this magical environment. And we go there and we dog sled and we cross country ski and snowshoe. And it's just really, truly magical, like no other place on the planet.
Wow. Did you see Northern Lights or?
We saw the Northern Lights twice. Yeah,
Oh my gosh.
really lucky. But yeah, another just amazing part of the experience.
How cool.
I can't put on an itinerary because you never know if you're going to see them or not.
Right. And it sounds like that was a very active trip. Are your trips often super active like that?
Actually, great question. That is probably my most active trip, other than any of like the hikes that I've done in Bhutan, or like Kilimanjaro, Machu Picchu. That is a very active trip. Although beginners are welcome, we teach cross country skiing, we teach
Oh,
snowshoeing on the trip. But yes, in terms of activities, many of my tours are more culturally focused.
mhm.
But this is one that blends in a little bit of culture, but then also has a lot of activities.
Yeah, sounds nice. So culture, I'd also like to hear about your Cuba trip that's coming up it's in November, so it's a little ways out, but such a fascinating place. I was there once and I really enjoyed it. What are you doing how's that trip going to work out?
Yeah, that trip is really focused on women. So we have so many things lined up for that tour. We do a cooking class with a mother-daughter duo who they're YouTube famous in Spanish, and
Oh,
they're so much fun. We go to crafting stores and stores, clothing stores that are owned by women entrepreneurs. We go to restaurants that are owned by women, really having this focus on the women and the culture of Cuba. And it's
hmm.
a number of nights in Havana. I think it's about 5 nights in Havana and a couple of nights in Trinidad on the coast. And we go to a tobacco farm, because cigars and tobacco are so important for their economy. But we really get to spend time with the local people. And it's just, it is a highlight of all my trips. It's pretty amazing.
Oh. I, I'm a little hesitant. When I think about Cuba, I think about all the news I've heard about how they're having blackouts, or they were, and the people have no food, and I it I feel a little bit concerned about traveling to a place like that. Would a traveler just be adding more problems on top of everything else they're experiencing, or how do you look at that?
Well, I look at it a little bit differently. I look at it as travelers, whether it's Cuba or really any place on the planet, what you're doing by going to a destination is you're actually putting money into their economy. And that is so critical for them because if travel were to stop, it just means that there's less money for those folks to live on, and they live on so little already. Government workers make about $25 a month, and that can be anything from a neurosurgeon, to someone working in a government hotel. It is mind blowing. But to be able to go there as a traveler, to eat at a restaurant, and to be able to tip your waiter, and to know that these locally owned small really bed and breakfasts, family run bed and breakfasts are getting, are just getting the support from the travel dollar is so important. And yes, it might put a little bit more strain on the system in terms of, the blackouts or even the food, but it is really vital for their economy for us to be there.
Mm-hmm. I remember when I was there, it was a few years back, and the political situation was such that Cuba had been open, Obama had opened it, and they had all of this industry going on, all this building. They were building a bunch of new hotels, and then everything stopped because our U.S. relationship with Cuba changed.
Yeah.
And so there were all these hotels that were sort of half built, and there was no way for the locals to get their money back out of them. And it seemed like it was going to be a disaster. Now that's been a few years, and I haven't really kept up. Um, do you know what is the situation now?
Well, yeah, there's still some of that that's going on, and it is heartbreaking. However, things have improved. Uh, they have improved since Biden. Um, we're yet to see what's going to happen with the new administration.
Mhm.
We in the travel industry who are working with the Cuba folks are hopeful that things will remain open, but it still kind of goes back to that. Yes, there are people who don't have access to food. They aren't able to make a lot of money. And again, it's so important to get in there and to help these folks through tourism dollars. So yes, you're going to hear heartbreaking stories every day, but there is a way to help them for sure.
Yeah. And because you take people on cultural tours, you get in, right?
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So a lot of
Absolutely.
people hear, oh, you can't go to Cuba anymore, but that's not at all true.
There are ways around it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes. Yes.
It used to be that people traveled, and travel was kind of, it was the cause or the purpose. They just wanted to go travel for travel's own sake. And now it almost seems like we're flipping that around and trying to travel for a cause or with purpose, or I mean, I'm seeing a lot more trips like that. And
Mhm.
I know that you do charitable work and volunteer work. Talk to us a little bit about how that works, specifically with respect to your trips, but then also your foundation as well.
Well, I don't technically have a foundation,
Oh,
but we do things, and we have in the past, we have collected donations, and Cuba's a great example of that.
yeah.
Where we encourage people to bring items to donate, and we give them a list beforehand, and it's everything from Band-Aids to children's clothes to medicines and that sort of thing, non-prescription medication. Um, but yes, when we go to our destinations, one thing that we do is we support programs that help specifically women and children. In Morocco, for example, in Marrakesh, we go to a location where this facility actually helps women with disabilities. So we go in, we meet the women, they're doing sewing and crafting, and they're in wheelchairs. Many of them are in wheelchairs, or they have some other sort of disability that um, doesn't allow them to get just kind of a regular job. So it supports them in that way. In Southeast Asia, we've gone to programs that are helping women of domestic violence. Same with India as well. We'll go to homes that take in widows because widows in India are not treated well. They're often just kind of put into homes and just kind of left there. So we go
Uh-huh.
to support them. So it's all, there's
Yeah.
a big range of ways. But in every destination, when I'm developing a new tour, that's what I look for. I look for ways to support the local women, either through donations or purchases, or just going to visit with these women and kind of learn their stories. And that becomes really enriching for us as well.
Yeah, I'll bet. Oh, I spoke with several people, Beth. I told them that I would be talking with you, and everybody had the same question. I'm a baby boomer, so a lot of people in my cohort were out in their 20s in Europe or Asia doing the hippie trail and that kind of thing. Um, and now we're empty nesters. We're kind of semi-retired, almost retired, retired. And you'd think that we would all be getting back out there. But here's what people wanted to know. How do I get back out there? One friend said, when I went, you could always go to the American Express office and meet other travelers. And oh my gosh, you just don't even think to do that anymore. So she said, where am I going to meet other people? And am I going to get lonely? And other people said, I could do it so easily when I was young. And I don't know what's different now, but I'm not sure I can get out there again. So what's your response to that kind of approach?
Yeah. Well, my first thought is the way you described it, it's like you have to exercise that muscle. That's just,
Yeah.
it's something that has atrophied over the years. They've probably raised a family. They're in the process of a divorce, splitting with their significant other, or that significant other doesn't like to travel and they want to get out there. So, really what I would say is like recognize the fact that that muscle just needs to be worked a little bit. And I always suggest to kind of to really stay small. Don't do something that's totally intimidating,
Yeah.
but go visit your friend who lives in Santa Fe and have a landing place, but then make plans every day to do something on your own or go to New York, where you go to a place where you might know someone so
Mhm.
you're having to get on the plane yourself, but you have kind of a safety net.
Yeah.
The other thing that you might do is really kind of go local. And that could be anything from your own backyard, driving 2 hours on your own and having lunch by yourself, because I think for a lot of people, it's really intimidating just to be by themselves. And
Yeah.
I think we need to find that comfort level if we've lost it. And then the other thing to do is you could join a tour, join a group,
Mhm.
and either go with a friend or a relative on a trip just to get out there if it's going to be a bigger destination,
Mhm.
or just go on your own, do your research, and then make sure you're going with like-minded women of our age. We may not want to go on a tour where there's 20 somethings on it, might not be the best fit, but find something where where we're going with like-minded women and doing the kinds of activities that we like to do. And it's like, I don't know, if you're a knitter or you're someone who's really into food, find a tour that's around that particular activity and you're going to enjoy it so much more. But it's just about taking those little steps and getting out there and then you'll be ready for much bigger things.
Now, most of your trips are women only, some are not.
Mhm.
What is that about?
Yeah, it's when the hubby wants to go. I mean, in a way, there is truth in that. And then sometimes I get just kind of a gut feel if I don't think that I can sell a full group with just women, and Antarctica is one of those
Hmm.
destinations.
Yeah,
It's a bucket list destination that people also
yes,
often want to go, with their significant other who
yeah.
happens to be male. And so I felt like it's important to have some trips that are co-ed trips mainly for that reason.
Do you still go to Papua New Guinea?
I haven't done it in a couple of years. I'm looking to bring it back in 2026, and that is one, to be perfectly honest with you, that I do for safety reasons. I make it a co-ed trip for safety reasons because it's just not a safe place for women. That's just the honest answer about that. So yeah, so I do a co-ed trip for safety reasons.
I want to go on that trip so
Oh, come, come, come.
I may well. I may bring my husband too.
There you go. There you go.
Well, how do we know what's safe and what isn't? How do we know where are a few places that people could consider going, just getting out there that would be fairly easy for,
Oh, I think most any European country, for one,
yeah.
go to the UK, New Zealand, Australia. I think there's ones that are really obvious, and especially if you're talking about maybe somebody who's just getting back out there to travel, you may want to go to an English-speaking country just to take away that one little barrier, and just make it a little bit more comfortable. But I think that, look, anyone can point to the United States and say that it's unsafe because if
Yeah.
they're going to New York, there might be a different level of safety than there is in going to Santa Fe, or going to a smaller city. And I think it's the same thing. It's like you might be able to point to some places in, I don't know, Spain or Italy that are not as safe, but I think in general, as a whole, I think Europe is a pretty good destination to choose.
Yeah. Easier to,
Asia's also great. I mean, Asia's amazing too. And I think it's the people are so peaceful and oh, there's so many destinations, Lori. I'm thinking of Japan, and I'm thinking of so many places, so I don't want to limit it to Europe, but you get really off the beaten path and, go someplace that's really quote unquote exotic. You go to Southeast Asia and it's very safe there as well. But of course, you take precautions,
yes,
you
of course.
make sure your passport and your money is in a safe location, and you just don't take risks going out at night alone or taking a taxi by yourself, that sort of thing. But
Mhm.
um
Now, I think I've heard you say that you particularly like Asia or Southeast Asia. What is it about that part of the world that's so that you like so much?
yeah, it's one of the first destinations that I had been to. I backpacked for a year in 1992 and I spent
Wow.
6 months in Southeast Asia and I fell in love with it. I was 3 months in Vietnam.
Mm.
And I joke that it's probably like a past life thing because I feel at home in Vietnam. And it's like
Huh.
I could be, couldn't be farther away from like looking Vietnamese,
Yeah.
right? But I get there and I just feel so comfortable. It's just I don't know, it's just a feeling that I have. I love the people, I love the environment, I love the food. Everything is just magical there for me. Mhm.
Okay, how about some traveler's tips? First, I want to ask you my most important question. I want to make sure I have time for this. 22-inch suitcase? What do you think? I always wondered if a 22-inch suitcase was, I've read that you have to have a 20-inch for some of the European airlines. Uh-oh, I think we've lost you there for a minute. Are you there?
Yep, I did not hear your question.
Oh, lost me maybe then.
22 inch.
Yeah, I was just asking about a 22-inch suitcase. I've read that you maybe want a 20-inch on the European airlines. What do you think?
I have always traveled with a 22 inch. I've got a Briggs and Riley. I'm going to give them a shout out because they're amazing. A Briggs and
Well, they
Riley
are.
22-inch carry-on, which unfortunately they don't make anymore. And I've probably had it for 14 years. I wish I kept track of how many miles it
Oh my
has
gosh.
on
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Um, Yeah, but it's my favorite, and I've never had a problem, except for a small regional jet. I've never had a problem with it fitting into the overhead bin. So it could be
Yeah.
if there is a 20-inch restriction on some European flights, I have not encountered them.
Oh, okay. Good to know. And then my other question, hard side or soft side?
Soft side for me. I'm actually looking for a new piece of luggage right now, and it's really hard to find soft case two-wheeled. I'm a two-wheeled fan,
Hmm,
and I'm just having a difficult time with it.
hmm.
I've been reading up quite a bit on it just in the last couple of weeks, and I've read that the hard-sided, even the four-wheeled tend to break down a little bit faster than the soft-sided two-wheel. So,
Huh. Yeah, and you need something that is sturdy. Okay, how about packing
mhm.
tips? Any
Oh,
packing?
packing tips.
Yeah,
Oh
packing.
gosh, so many packing tips. Compression sacks for one thing that act
Yeah,
like a vacuum. You stick your things in there, you zip it like a big Ziploc bag and roll it. And that's going to save you a ton of space in your bag. The alternative that you can use are just packing cubes. So it just kind of keeps your things in order. So, if you need uh, your running gear, for me, it's my running gear and my pajamas all go in one little pack. And then
yeah,
my regular clothes go in another pack. That's always a great thing to do. And then the really big thing is making sure that you're utilizing every space. So don't just put your shoes into your luggage. Put your shoes in your luggage with your underwear in there or with electronics, with anything that's going to fit inside your shoe, and you're going to save a ton of space with that.
yeah. Good one. Um, okay. I also just wanted to ask a little bit about what do you think about the future of travel? Do you see things changing? The world is changing so much. It's on fire. We have all these political issues. We have climate change. And yet it's so important for us, speaking to the choir here, I'm sure, to get out and connect and meet people and get out of our own little bubbles. What do you see as the future of travel for folks like us?
Well, mainstream big picture, what I see is more popular destinations getting more popular. So it's getting more expensive. It's getting more difficult to get a hotel room at a reasonable rate. It's more difficult to get into popular sites at a destination because
Hmm,
there's just so many more people there.
yeah,
So I think the real key to kind of offset that is to even more so, I've always recommended traveling in the off season or the
yeah,
shoulder season. That's become even more critical. And then also, just let go of the fact that you don't need an Instagram moment at the most popular place at a destination. Look
mhm.
for other places to go. There's a fun website called Atlas Obscura.
Love
And
that.
oh, you have to look at this because if you just, do a search for Atlas Obscura and then your destination, they're going to come up with probably 10 really fun off the beaten path things for you to do. And I would encourage people to, again, just let go of the fact that you don't have to go see all of the really popular sites.
Yeah.
And if you come home and somebody says, "Oh, did you see the Louvre?" and you say no, own it. Go see something else and say no, but look at this other place that I went to that was, really amazing.
Yeah.
And I just think that that's really important, and that's going to help offset, you getting stuck in the big crowds and even really paying higher prices at your destination.
I was in Bali, and I we were attending a dance class, and there are all these beautiful young Balinese children in their
Mhm.
beautiful garments dancing. And
Mhm.
I wanted to take a photo of it, and I just couldn't get to the right spot.
Yeah.
I couldn't get their faces, but I ended up getting their feet. And it was a fabulous shot. I love it and it was so much better for me.
Yeah.
I like it so much better than I would have liked their faces. But I
Right.
wouldn't have thought of it except for that sort of necessity of doing
Right.
something different than I originally planned and originally wanted to. And I think that's one of the reasons that's such a small thing, but that's one of the ways that travel helps us become more resilient and more creative. It's so good for us in so many ways.
Well, right. And the thing about that, Lori, is that you learned something in that moment so that the
Yeah.
next trip you take, you might consciously think, what's a different angle that I can take on this so I can
Yeah.
bring home a different kind of treasure rather than just like the usual photo. And you mentioned earlier, me being bold, and I think that is the like such a key. I think if we could just remember that phrase in everything that we do, whether it's the meal that you're going to prepare tonight or the next destination that you're going to, or fill in the blank, whatever it is, if you can just kind of bring that attitude into everything, it just gives you a different level of confidence, and then there's going to be a different outcome, and you might end up with a photograph that you hadn't anticipated or even expected that it was going to be as beautiful, as it was. You might have thought, oh, I'm so disappointed I can't take this one image, but then it ended up something completely different
Yeah. Yeah.
and special.
Important.
But yeah, I think having that kind of be bold attitude is really helpful.
How did the whole be bold thing start with you?
Um, I was really thinking about, gosh, what was lean in. So Sheryl
Yeah.
Sandberg had that whole like lean in thing, and this was years ago, of course. And I was thinking there's got to be something around travel that makes sense. It's not just a lean in. And I just thought, well, what like be bold just really resonated with me. And I just thought, yeah, I want to be out in the world and I want to be bold. And that's just, um, yeah, I just think it's that simple. It's that simple, but yet difficult.
Yes. Simple but not easy. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Another one of those. It seems like a lot of the best things are
Yeah, yeah,
simple but not easy.
that's
Well,
true.
I'm pretty sure we could talk forever, Beth.
I think so. Yeah, yeah, about travel.
But it's time to wrap up. I want to thank all of our listeners for joining us on the Women's Eye podcast. You can connect with Beth Whitman on Facebook and Instagram. The links are on our website and on it's WanderTours, your website.
It is WANDER, WanderTours.com.
WanderTours.com. So those links are all on our website. And you'll also find on our website some books about other inspiring women who, like Beth, have been out there making it happen. There's this one, 20 Women Change. It's kind of glaring, isn't it? Anyway, 20 Women Change Makers, kind of glaring. And 20 Women Storytellers. These are both beautiful books, just examples of people who are out there doing it and having a good time, being bold.
Showing us the path.
They're all, yeah. It's just so nice to be inspired by a little bit of a conversation with you, Beth, so important for me right now to find inspiration every day. Listeners, remember to rate and review us on Apple Podcasts and subscribe to our newsletter and YouTube channel. And again, thank you, Beth. It has been such a pleasure.
Thank you, Lori. And then after we're done, you and I can talk for another 2 hours.
Okay, I'm in and I'm signing up. Shoot, do you have the sign up yet I want to go to Papua New Guinea.
Oh,
Okay,
no, I don't have it yet, but we'll get you there.
we'll get there. Okay. All right, we need to sign off. I'm Laurie McAndish King, and remember, it's the world as we see it. Okay.